Hello and welcome to Experiment Lab, the daily show with JK, where you find your truth. This is a Stop Now sponsored Experiment Lab, and it's an investigative channel. I am your host, you all know that, and I have been joined by Amar, who has been co hosting silently for the few weeks. Welcome, Amar. Good morning. How are you doing?
Good morning, JK. I'm good. Thank you for asking.
All right. So let's wait for the teammates Iftikhar and Nate to join. And quick update to members, right? Membership is available on this channel. Join this channel, get access to the membership perks. There are different levels. Superhero and superheroes have arrived. Iftikhar is here, and our special guest also arrived. I'm just joking. I'm in a happy mood. So these are different levels. Go ahead and sign up for that and get access to and get benefit for the memberships. So that is the intro part taken care of. Good morning, everyone. Are we ready to fight?
Good morning.
Nate is silently giving a big smile. Nate, are you ready?
Mute. He's mute. You're mute.
Your voice is not coming, Nat.
No, our audio is not working, it seems.
Yeah.
All right. Meanwhile, he figures out his audio part. Let's move on. Iftikhar and Amar, you guys have anything to add before we jump into the call?
Okay, means you're talking about the agenda?
Yeah.
I
If
recall.
you want to share anything, you can do.
No, let's go ahead.
Yeah.
All right. So as we have been doing this experiment for quite a long time, just wanted to talk about the issues that we were discussing yesterday as such. And from that, uh, probably Nate will be the right person to defend. If you guys are going to just nod your head and agree with me, that's why like I'm just going to pass that and let him come back. Meanwhile, what I was trying to mm, make a statement, right? So in terms of uh, the people we don't like, right? How do we work with them, right? A simple thing, right? From my understanding, those who accumulate more wealth, I just mentioned that, right? The rich people are the bad guys, no matter what, right? So they can come up with a justification. I am trying to help many people. That's why I have to accumulate more wealth. So that is the conversation in which like we were having this debate, right? What is right, what is wrong? Uh, any any individual or any company, right? So what happens is like when they get fired, and we were talking about the experiment, how violations are happening and how they blatantly ask, even now, right? One other a big recruitment company called Kforce. Uh, few of the recruiters they reached out to me, and for one of the profile that we are working on with, they wanted to know. Uh, they want to verify the green card even before taking up the resume to the client. Welcome back, Nate. Are you with us? Are you able to talk? No, still you're not. Still the audio is not working. Well, I'm trying to see if I can get them on the call. That way we can really have some fun conversation.
Hello.
Yep.
Yes, fine. Yeah,
Hey.
we are able to hear you.
I figured out what the problem is. Got it now. Next time, hopefully I should be able to not have to disconnect.
Microphone.
Well, the computer was automatically deselecting the computer microphone. I don't know how or why, but that's what's been happening. Mac, who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah, that happens, right? When we switch between different audio systems, like it does that.
But what are we arguing about today?
He's ready.
There's still plenty more to talk about Elon Musk and
Yeah.
Mm,
Elon.
Yeah, yes. We can go ahead and start.
Seems Ned is completely prepared
I
today.
was thinking about it.
Yeah,
Yeah, I was thinking about it more earlier.
Yes, yeah, even from the yesterday's news, right? So let's talk about it, right? So probably I can also play the devil's advocate and I can defend Elon Musk's point of view and all those things. But here, right, the recent news, probably Iftikhar knows better. Indian Prime Minister Modi has come to US.
Right.
And it's been a gala event and fanfare and all those things, right? And even he met investors and talked to Elon Musk, and Elon Musk seems to make the statement saying that I'm a fan of Modi. You can be fan of even Hitler. There is nothing wrong in it. I'm not comparing Modi to Hitler, but just look at the rhetoric. Nate, I don't think you are naive. You need to understand the Western world's tactics in dealing with. They don't give a shit about Modi or the third world country, India, as such. And they are trying to use him. A simple historical fact. US denied him visa when he was a chief minister of Gujarat. Now he is the prime minister, so they have to play this ball, right? And just few months before, BBC released a documentary on Godhra, that is like the train carnage, like the killings of thousands of Muslims that happened during the Modi period in Gujarat as a chief minister. They released that and they created a huge controversy, and it was banned in India. And they invited him and shamed him in the Australia. All those dramas were going on, attacking him personally, and now they are inviting to US. What kind of politics is this? Common man doesn't understand anything. That is the problem here.
Well, if the power changes hands, If the power changes hands, things change. The political power of the country changes hands. You have different policymakers in charge. They're gonna do different things. Not saying that I'm defending the US government, but you asked for an explanation.
That's exactly my point, Nate, right? So we were talking about Elon Musk, right? So how shrewd and cunning these people are, right? These billionaires are. You don't even look at the person's agenda, right? What type of person is Narendra Modi, the Prime Minister of India? You don't give a shit about it. You blindly go ahead and say, like, I'm a fan of Modi, right? So if I say that, right, like, let's assume, right, if he says that, like, I'm a fan of Hitler, just imagine what kind of uproar will happen.
I think he's following Modi's activity on Twitter, on social media. That's why he's telling like that.
Just look at the historical context, right? What is his ideology? Does he even care about it? Does he even know what Modi stands for? That is the problem with the Western world, right? They cannot be blindsided, and they cannot pretend like, oh, he's all good now. Is that what you are going to say? Just because he is the prime minister of a country? And what is wrong in, like, then accepting Putin? What is the problem with you with Putin? Why you are encouraging war with Russia, proxy war, and using Ukrainians and killing millions of Ukrainians? That's ridiculous, right? It's totally ridiculous. And as if they care for Indians or India, they are talking about investments and growth, prosperity. That is the complete double standard, right? That is why, like, I started getting involved in this and also trying to know the truth, right? Each individual has to get involved on their own to find the truth. Otherwise, like, it is always we are being told by others. I'm not going by judging, right? By what media says, and I have no quarrel, no regrets with Modi, because I have never met him, including any other people, right? I am attacking them. But their actions has consequences. We all know that, right? Everybody, right? Including us, right? So even from a simple person, right? How we all are connected and what we are trying to achieve here. The rhetoric, right? When Trump uses, the same thing happens, right? And that's why, like, we are taking sides and being divided on that. So I don't want, like, to take sides. I want to look at it, like, in a critical way. How do we analyze this and find solution if there is a problem? Because most of the time it is human created. That's how I put it. Like, go ahead, Nate. So you have your thoughts. Iftikhar, Amar.
Yeah, I mean, talking about the war part, Russia-Ukraine war part, I think Ukraine was provoked to bring on into the war zone. If this war could have been stopped if West wanted. What I feel now that this war is nothing but a kind of, business of selling arms to the West by United States. Correct me if I'm wrong, because throughout the year, that has been observed that US sold a lot of arms to West. Yeah, I mean, to European countries primarily. I may be wrong, but that's my observation.
Nate, it's your turn. You are defenseless, speechless. What's happening?
I just don't really know much about Indian politics, to be honest. It's not really an area of expertise for me.
Well, as a reporter, right, or any a person, right? So as a diplomat or anyone, right? So just to know about it, right? Since you have even visited the country, so just make your own research and assumptions and readings and come back to this conversation, right? We can always visit back. What is happening in a country without knowing that the full facts, you cannot go and poke around. So that has been the trend setting thing by the Americans. They always do that. They do everywhere around the world. And they justify it like in different ways. When do we get to stop this?
Since the United States became the most powerful country in the world, this is going back to the time of Teddy Roosevelt. His diplomatic policy was that anything in their sphere of influence, or any countries that would essentially affect the United States, or that could pose a risk, or that would be potential business partners, or basically connected in any way, which is almost every country in the world now, that the United States, as the strongest nation, had a responsibility to provide oversight and to support capitalism around the world. And that's where it came from. It came from Teddy Roosevelt. That's going back to the early 1900s.
Well, talking about the most powerful country, I don't agree with you about United States that is the most powerful, country. We never know about the hidden potential of the other countries or competitors, like Russia and China. They are the competitors of United States. They're also in superpower, right? They're also powerful countries.
Superpowers. They are
Yeah.
superpowers too, but
Correct.
the United States still has the strongest economy. They still have the most.
Yeah. In
They
terms of
still have the
economy,
most
yes,
money.
I can understand.
They still have the strongest military by far, also. So
Yeah, correct.
considering those things, I mean, they're still number one, and they probably still will be for another.
Yeah, that is a front. Yeah, that is the front page story. But if talking about the hidden potential or the arms, we cannot say anything about the other competitors like China and Russia. And talking about the economy wise, yes, I believe somewhat that without European countries, the power of United States is not as strong without European countries. So they have chosen to make alliance with the European countries, just like as a NATO, to make himself more strong. And if you talk about, yes, he has dominance. I mean, United States has dominance on European countries.
Yeah, I think you could say the same thing about
Without
Russia.
taking support of European countries, I'd rather say United States is not as strong as we believe.
Yeah, I mean, they're definitely not, everyone needs each other, basically. Any one country that tries to dominate the world or control the world or whatever, it's never going to work. I mean, I think if you look back at World War II, one thing that was proven there was that no one nation can dominate the whole world. It doesn't work that way. So from that standpoint, yeah, I definitely agree. But if you just look at what is the public knowledge, what is known,
This is why NATO came to this picture. The NATO, the main purpose of bringing NATO in picture just to make themselves strong, because worldwide European countries, in terms of economy, European countries are good. United States good. So they do not have any competitors. So if they make any alliance and make NATO, so obviously no one can compete with them, right? That's the concept.
yeah, NATO was created by the United States. That's an invention of US politics. But if you look at it just from a military standpoint, and I wrote a research paper on this when I was in college, about United States military spending. And in the paper that I wrote, I created a graph to demonstrate all of the amount of money and the amount of supplies and everything compared to all of the other top nations. And United States was spending 5 times more than China, who was number 2. Just to put that into perspective. China was at number 2 and the United States was like spending 5 times more than them. And then going down from there, it gets smaller, like Russia, and then it's like Germany, Japan, these other smaller nations that are spending a relatively small amount on military. But United States is like way ahead of everyone else. So it has been a while, but supporting the military has long been a priority for the American economy for both Democrats and Republicans. Reducing military spending is pretty much never happened in the past few decades. So, yeah, we can
I
look
was
it up
listening to a
now,
news
but
couple
I'm
of
sure they're
months
way
back.
ahead.
Yeah, I was listening to a news couple of months back wherein it was stated that Russia started preparing nuclear, weapons since Second World War.
Let's
And they
see.
have, nobody knows how many nuclear weapons they have. It's uncountable. So if you talk about anything in front of compared to nuclear weapons, obviously they are nothing, null. So in
Again,
fact, they have.
right. So we are trying to completely merge ourselves into the politics, right? So this is something.
World politics.
Yeah, the world politics.
Okay,
My
now
2 cents.
here's an uploaded. Sorry, let me just squeeze this in really quick. Here's an updated one for as of January 2022. I've just pulled up a chart. United States is still at the top. Russia and China are not far behind though. They're only behind by about 10%. Then the next one is India. India has got about half of the military power of the United States, Russia, and China. Then Japan, they're almost tied. Then South Korea, France, and UK are not far behind them. So that's what it looks like now.
No, North Korea. What about North Korea?
North Korea is not on there. They're not in the top 10. They're not in
They
the top.
they do not disclose anything.
Yeah, see, they don't disclose. I agree on that. Right? So even to the point what Nate was making, right? So United Nations and after the First and the Second World War, we decided selectively people try to be good. That is my problem in understanding this human behavior as such. Uh, US wants to dominate, right? For this, what if even if they are mentioned, right? It's just like the others. That is why like the culture plays a major role. The East and the West, we talk about it, right? Just because somebody goes submissive and or even surrenders, that means like if they get defeated, it doesn't mean that like they are not powerless, right? For me, like the more they are powerful, they will be more humble. And for some reason, for the materialistic reason, right, to have control, this uh, creating a environment where everything has to be in dollar and make this assumption that like a universal language kind of thing to control and dominate every other country. And in an imaginary way, it looks like United States is the most powerful, right, in terms of military and all those things. But let's take into the account of all the other factors, right? Population wise, if we combine China and India, it's almost unbeatable by any other country, right? So half of the population will go off. And just like what you mentioned in they don't want like this alliance between Russia, China and India to be together, because it looks like a threat for the Western people, Europe and US. So that is where like they are trying to bring in this economy, right? When people become arrogant and they become dictators and they stick by their what they want to achieve in their agenda, and they want to control the other person, then this nasty things happens. That is why like it has become so complex even now, right? Europe and Russia are doing business and engaging in proxy wars. What do we
True.
have to say about that, right? So it's a shameful thing, right? You are fighting with somebody and then like you are under the table, you are doing the business transaction as well with them.
They have no choice.
That's what I'm saying, right? So you cannot cut off the relationship and you cannot take a stand on your own. That is the reason like all these complexities and all these problems exist. And that is the reason, like simply said, right? If anyone goes crazy and just starts the nuclear war, we are all done with. But nobody was going to go that crazy, right? Everybody is hoping for controlling the other person, make them surrender to you. And it's like even everybody wants to live in an imaginary world, la la land, right? I would say like I want
What
to be
about the
the
satellite? What about the satellite? The satellite engine maintenance that is being done by Russia, right?
yeah. See,
So
again, right? Even many people have talked about it, right? We can share all those things as well. This Cold War, all that started with Russia because of the Western world's fear of communism, and also the space era, which began with the race. And in that, like in every front, like Russia was beating Americans. So that's why like they got pissed off. And even like people say that like it's still they are talking it's a conspiracy and they didn't go to moon. And with all the proof and evidence, still people don't believe that, right? That is what happens, right? So that is the main factor. When you are in fear, when you fear for the other person, definitely you will do crazy thing. That is what is happening. And actually we have to sympathize and pity for, because large number of Americans, majority are, I won't say innocent, they are, again it might look like an offensive word, they are hardworking dumb people. They are not shrewd like some of the politicians, or they are not craving for, all they care is like, I want my money, I want to enjoy everything in life, that's it. It might look very simple, but that consumerism is what taking some people for granted to exploit all the others around the world.
So what is your opinion for how long this war will go? Is it going to be ended or it will go long?
Well, I'm not an astrologer and I cannot predict. I don't even have that knowledge to uh, make a full analysis. Whatever bits and pieces that I am getting exposed to, I'm making that assumption.
I think China is trying to take control of the world.
Obviously, he is trying,
Yeah.
but but still he has to do a lot of homework. It's not easy to do that,
No, this is something, right? So we cannot just blindly, without any evidence or proof, make accusation, right? Where is the proof China wants to take over, right? They have their own problem, right? Billion people, and they were smart enough to make an effort to at least curtail their population, whereas India was not doing that. And now India overtook China,
Hmm.
right?
No, not still.
And
But can you tell me a country in this world who is not importing, y- goods from China? Not a single country we can count even. Every country in this world is
exactly.
importing.
See, that is what, right? I'm not defending Chinese or China, but here, just imagine the reality is so many millions of people are put to hard labor and they make cheap product, and all over the world everybody, as you said, right, is importing it from China, and nobody like even bothers to give credit to them. Have some basic human courtesy and decency to respect them. You are talking about liberty and freedom alone. Don't you think that like Chinese want that? And just by like blatantly people assume okay, China is bad and communism is bad. And just even looking at the documentary, right, it looks so cruel, right? A dictatorship kind of thing where you cannot have more than one child. If you do, like, you will be sent to jail.
In China?
Yeah, it was there in
Oh,
80s. You guys didn't know that?
I don't know
Yeah,
about.
they removed that though. They don't have the one child rule anymore.
Yes,
They have
now
no
they
other choice. So because of population.
yes, see, that is the thing, right? At least they cared for the whole world, right? They cared for the whole world. Okay, unless we curtail our population, we cannot make people to prosper. They have to suffer in poverty. More people will die. So
You
they
don't you
had
don't
to take.
go you don't go to jail. It wasn't like they just put you in prison for having children. That's not what it was. The way that it worked was that you had to pay. So if you could have as many kids as you want, but you had to pay more each time. So for example, rich families that would still ignore the rule and just have like 3, 4, 5 children, they would just pay. You have to pay like child tax, and it's high.
Oh, come on.
So you can keep
They
your
don't
kid.
have
It's not
freedom,
like
you
you have
mean?
a kid that you have to get rid of them or kill them or something. It's not like that. They imposed a high tax
Oh,
uh,
they do not have
that
freedom then.
people in the countryside would not be able to afford. And if you don't pay the tax, then obviously you're in trouble with the law. But it's not like, oh, you had a kid, go to jail, get rid of the kid. That's not what they did.
Now, what if a person has two child, okay, and he is not able to pay the tax? If he is put into jail, who will feed them then?
Well, first of all, you could have 2 kids, but they had to be spaced out. This is not even a law anymore. We're talking about a decade ago or whatever. But you were allowed to have 2 kids, but they had to be spaced out by like 7 years or something. I don't know what the exact number was. It was like at least 5 years or 6 years or 7 or 8 years. So you have the first kid and you would raise them as an only child. And then once they were like, you know, old enough to be in school, you were allowed to have another kid. And they had to do this for population control because their population was spinning out of control. And yeah, it's what do you do? How do you tell somebody not to have children? The whole system's screwed up. But the reason they did it was because their population was growing at an alarming rate, and they were afraid that they were not going to be able to manage everybody, or that the population, or that the country wouldn't have enough resources or something. But so they implemented a cruel policy. That's not the only thing that they did to prevent the people from having children too. If you were in high school, you were not allowed to have a boyfriend or girlfriend. I taught English in China, so I heard all these stories from my students, and they explained all these things to me. And they want you to focus and prepare for the test, because when you're 18 years old, you take a test that's going to determine the rest of your life. So when they're 18, they have to take this placement test, and that determines what type of university you can get into, or what type of career you might be eligible for. And they study for months, like all day from morning until late night for this
Wow.
test. Depending on how you do on the test, it determines the rest of your life. You don't do well on the test, well, you could be a taxi driver, open a little shop or something like that. If you do well on the test, ideally, if you can get into Beijing University, which is the best university in China, then you have a higher chance of getting into a good office job, or working at holding a position at a telecommunications company, getting a pretty good salary in Beijing, things like that. But yeah, it's shocking to hear them talk about it, that they were not allowed to have boyfriend, girlfriend, or many of them will say that their parents were only allowed to have one child and things like that. You can't imagine it being somebody that didn't grow up that way, but for them it was normal. They were just talking about it like it's his normal life. Not that they were happy about it, but it's crazy.
Well, then if we club everything, all these points, then seems that COVID had started from China, and it wasn't, I don't know, what is that? I can say it's maybe population reduction policy, maybe.
Yep, let's find more interesting things to talk about it on this topic. And we ran past our 30 minutes, so we will wrap up for today. You guys agree to it? All right, then. Thank you all for watching us. And this is Stop Now Experimental Lab. I'm signing off as JK. Thank you to Nate, Iptika, and Amar. Bye for now.
Bye.